What will the future role of public space be? What are the new policies that public space needs?
Public space shouldn't be, it should still be the main connection between private activities, private properties, and that's what really the glue of the cities. So I also think that there should be a push to to value and to bring the importance of public space. I also I think there are risks that that people will prefer to stay indoors or to live in the suburbs, in the outskirts of the cities. And no, I think public space has a very important role to play. It's still the place where also people like public transport, where all types of different income, different races, different everything can meet, and I think public spaces should continue to be that public and free. And of course, there has to be some new precautions and measures to be taken.
What will be the future role of our streets? What will be the new forms of human transportation?
Yeah, I think it will be a lot of course, a lot of home office that will increase, which is good because, of course, the most sustainable trip is the one you don't make. So in that sense, I think that's a good thing about all this pandemic. However, not everyone will be able to do that, and I don't think you will also want to have just everyone working from home and not having meetings from time to time and other type of interaction, more closer interaction. I think the modes of walking and cycling will benefit also from all this pandemic, because there is also a very resilient and safe way to move around. Also, it consumes less space than the cars. But also there is some risks. There is risks that the car use can, I mean, if we go back to normal, as we have seen in some Chinese cities, we can have a lot of congestion if people want to avoid public transport, and especially I'm worried about public transport, since people will probably want to avoid the crowding and a lot of things. So the financial pressure on public transport will be very hard in the next years.
What should be the role of technology and AI in rethinking the possibilities for public space? Can AI be used to control part of the city according to unexpected events?
They have a very important role to play, and they'll continue to develop a lot with technology and artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. And for example, things like that they already are in hand, but you can, of course, make them more affordable and widespread to the population, of things like being able to reserve a seat on a public transport, or to be able to see how many people are on a bus, or how often the metro goes, or just if you want to go from A to B, what are your options? And of course, always making it safer choices. The technologies will can help us, but also they can have people just worry about their mobile and not interact with other people. And also, I don't want a state that does a lot of surveillance, like Big Brother or goes into the private data of people. No, we have seen the things that have happened before. So I think, yeah, it can bring good things, but we also have to be aware that it won't be the silver bullet. And at the end, people, I hope, will still want to go and have a coffee in a cafe looking at the street. No, you don't need a lot of technology for that. Together, and also something related to that is local economies, how you also, I think, maybe if you will be doing less traveling for further distances, it becomes more important how the neighborhood scale, no, how you walk to the store that it's closer to you, maybe go to the restaurant and things like that, and that, I think, it has a positive can have a positive effect, no. But of course, at the end, it's also about also how the lower income move around and get to their jobs, and this is certainly going to change a lot of these things. And as usually, the lower income will probably have it the most difficult situations. The conditions should be improved. You can have wider sidewalks. You can have more space dedicated for bikes. All this movement about pop-up bike lanes or temporary bicycle lanes or whatever, I hope they become, in most cases, permanent. Of course, you also need to give other infrastructure like parking for bicycles. Not everyone has within walking distance or cycling distance their jobs, but I hope, yeah, we can be smarter about how we travel, both in the space and also through time. On space, I think it'll be more and more, it'll make sense that people commute long distances to go to work every day. Maybe they can go work 2-3 days a week, and the rest do home office. And of course, the rest of the trips, I think a lot of them can be walking, cycling, and also on the time, I think I hope we see a change where we don't see so much peak hours, like everyone trying to get at 9 o'clock or whatever, 9, 10, or 8 o'clock to their jobs in the morning and leaving at 5, 6 in the evening, but have maybe more spread out, different time frames of working, and that will certainly help both congestion, can help also public transportation systems, and will be a better use of the limited infrastructure we have in the big cities. There'll be certainly a push for this car-oriented suburbanization and getting away from dense areas, but in my opinion, that's a mistake, both on the environmental and also from the energy perspective. And just to give an example, I mean, I think at the end, yeah, people will also want to be in places where things happen. I don't think we'll go back necessarily to this suburban dream of the 60s and 70s, where people would have their activities in their house and not really a lot of city life. I think city life made a really strong comeback, and fortunately will continue. But yeah, there'll be some push against that. And just to give an example, Hong Kong, which is probably it's one of the most dense cities in the world, had very few cases of COVID, and their public transport never shut down. they definitely took a lot of precautionary measures. They began putting the face masks before it was approved by the World Health Organization. They did a lot of things of not being very restrictive about how many people could be on a public space and on the public transport. But at the end, they had very little compared to other big cities. So I think it's more of a not so much of the form of the city necessary, but how we approach this type of pandemias that will probably continue. So I hope we are smart about it and we don't abandon the idea of density, of mixed use, I mean, obviously it has to be it's not density for the sake of density, but more of related to the things you want to achieve as a city, and especially the mixed uses as well. So those things, I think they'll be challenged, but I hope we are able to give good arguments and also to showcase that it can be still it's important to maintain and not go the other way around.
How is your everyday life going where you live? What's the experience and the situation? How are you working and traveling right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm that segment of the population who's very lucky, I think, that can do. I mean, I haven't gone back to the office since 2 months ago, since middle of March. And yeah, we connect. Our office is about 15 people, so we connect weekly. As we used to have weekly meetings, so now we have weekly meetings, but on through the web. And yeah, I don't commute. I mean, I used to go on bicycle to the office, so maybe that part I miss it. But I still go for the groceries on bicycle. I spend more time with my baby and with my wife, but I still have work to do, and actually the challenge has been not to overdo it, not to work too much, because of course sometimes you don't. I think if you don't have like limits and times where you say, okay, I'm just gonna work from until this hour and that's it, no? And I think that's very healthy to do it. And of course, we also kind of we allocated a space in the apartment to be like our little office, so we're not working on the living room and things like that. I think that's also healthy to do. And on the good side, I cook and I spend more time with my family, but I also miss some of the other things, no, like also being with my colleagues, and maybe also going to restaurant with friends and things like that. But trying to adapt to these. And it's hard to know for sure, but I mean, certainly I have been giving the lectures also like this on distance, and some of it's good also that you avoid the commuting and getting there. But I also mean, sometimes I don't know the reaction of the students. There isn't like you cannot see them their faces always, so to see really how much attention they're paying. But it has some advantages too. I think you're maybe more efficient with time, and you sometimes can concentrate better on, like when you're giving a lecture. But there are some other challenges. I mean, so when my lecture, we always do an exercise of going on to a public transport station, and to see what it can be improved through a standard that we have called the Transit-Oriented Development Standard, TOD. And of course, we do the exercise in the place, and we score to see how walkable it is, how mixed use, how much mixed uses it has, how dense it, all these type of different criteria. And then I asked them to come up with a proposal to improve it. And obviously that has changed of the fact that we haven't been able to go to the place. But what I asked them to do is to use technology, tools like the Street View and of the Google Pro, and be able to score the site. I mean, it will never replace the fact of going there and seeing it live and all that, but at least it's an interesting tool. It has just yesterday they gave me their presentations, and it wasn't. I thought there were going to be more limitations. They were able to get a lot of information just from geographic information systems and like I said, Street View and other things. So I think that certainly will help. But again, we'll always prefer that we also do a recognition of a place, on a walk around it, and see how people use it and things like that. No, that certainly that I missed that part, but and I hope we'll get back to some of that. I hope all our classes are not just online. So I don't know that part. It's interesting. I think it'll be reduced. I don't think it will definitely completely be shut down, but I think the trips, they will be more like the essential trips that you have to make. And I'm also very scared of all the security measures that they're going to be at the airports, at the airplanes, all that. I think it'll be a very time consuming. So probably, we'll reduce as much possible, at least for the short term, until they find a vaccine and other things, the traveling to just the very essential one. But so far, I just basically shut down the plans of traveling for the last 3 months.
What else do you think needs to be done with public transport in order to support us as we come out of this pandemic?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it would be a really tragedy if we abandon public transport, and we think that the way to move the cities is to have as many people as possible getting into a car. I think that would be very stupid if we go that direction. So definitely public transport will have to get more support, I think, from governments, and governments should be able to find more creative ways of financing it. They should be more like, for example, London has had a great plan to increase congestion charging and to support their public transport system and their bike lanes and their sidewalks and all that. I think the car should definitely help the public transport systems. It will be also beneficial for the car drivers to have less congestion. So either congestion charging, have maybe a tax on fuel, make it more expensive on parking, and also creative ways of maybe property taxes, things like that can definitely help public transport, and it should be, I mean, at it should be a priority. I think public transport should be also almost like a basic right of people that need to go to work. And so yeah, I think there should be more creative ways of finding resources to finance and to have more units, more frequencies, so the vehicles are not as crowded, and that requires also more money. So yeah, that definitely should be a priority, I think, in the policy of the city, of the big cities.